Hey guys, welcome to the show. My name is Brooks Conkle. I'm the founder and organizer of Gulf Coast BizCon. So our mission is to engage and empower entrepreneurs, small business owners, and side hustlers. We just believe that when these people connect, positive things happen, good stuff happens. So today I'm super excited. I've got Katie Allred with me, and I'm gonna bring her on in just a second. She's a professor at a university. They have a student-led agency called Good Work Agency, which we're going to talk about a little bit there, which I think that's really interesting too. And then they've gotten into the event space where they've done some crazy online events recently. And so that is one of the main things I want to talk about. So if you're looking to create an online event or an agency or just a community, I think this conversation will be really empowering for you. And so excited to bring her on. Katie, how you doing?
Hey, I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing awesome. I'm doing really good. Yeah, thanks for taking the time and connecting. And let's talk all things community and events and agency. You do so much cool stuff that I'm really looking forward to connecting with you. So
yeah, I'm definitely a little all over the place. Jill of all trades, if you will.
Let me ask you this right away. Do you like that?
I love it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm definitely I don't know. I can be a specialist in some things because there are definitely some things that I have been doing for years. I mean, since I was a child. I've been doing web development since I was 9. I've been doing online community since the same age. So those things I'm very deep in.
What were you doing at 9 years old? Online community, what in the world? Okay. What in the world would that be?
All right. So you haven't heard this story? Okay,
no?
Good.
Let's start there.
Sometimes I feel like a broken record because I talk about this a little bit. So yeah, when I was 9 years old, I started a Harry Potter forum with some friends I met in a different Harry Potter forum. And I went online really looking for community just about it because I lived in rural Alabama and not a lot of people were talking about Harry Potter, right? Because it was kind of forbidden, I guess.
Yeah.
And so I found a forum, and then we had a small group of friends and we decided to create our own Harry Potter fan site. And it's actually an Australian Harry Potter fan site. It's still exists. It's harrypotterfanzone.com. My friend Andy created it. He really is the creator of it, but I was the administrator of the forum probably from 1999 to 2005 or 2004. And yeah, I oversaw, we probably had about 10,000 members. At some point we did annual events like the Yule Ball and stuff like that. That people
I don't know what that is. I think that's a Harry Potter.
Oh yeah, it's totally a Harry Potter thing.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, but it was really fantastic. And in its heyday, we won an award from J.K. Rowling herself. And yeah, it was wild.
That's so cool.
And so I don't know if you want to talk too much about Christianity, but I did get to share the gospel through that, which was pretty cool strategically. But anyways, it was kind of a random thing for me to do as a kid.
That's super cool. So you're like an OG when it comes to creating community online. Obviously, if you started at 9 years old doing that, why an Australian website?
It was just because that was where Andy lived. So it was more
about where Andy was in Australia.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. And he had the domain and the hosting and all that stuff. So yeah, that was more about that than it was about us. And two, there wasn't a lot of Harry Potter fan sites in Australia. So I mean, I think it was kind of strategically done, really. So
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking maybe there's some sort of offshore strategy you guys had going on.
There was definitely a ton of American members. I honestly don't know of any Australian members back in the day besides Andy himself. So
that's so funny.
Most of our core members, which we have people now who work there who work now at Spotify and NASA and are developers and are in the Army and stuff like that, which is just wild that we all got our start. And Andy too is a developer at an agency in Australia. So we all ended up doing this online thing.
That's cool.
It is kind of crazy how I've been doing it for this long. And I didn't really realize that's what I was doing until much later. I mean, really until recently in the last 5 years, I was like, oh yeah, no wonder I understand this. I've been doing it since I was a child.
Yeah, it just like it was just a part of what you're doing. And so I asked you that question earlier about like, do you like doing multiple things? And that's a cool answer you gave, because we share that thread. That's a very common thing for me, that a lot of people think I'm kind of crazy with some of the stuff I do, but it kind of brings me life, like doing all these multiple projects.
Yeah. And I think, too, maybe people think like, oh, you must be incredibly busy or have no actual real life. And I'm like, no, I had to like, and even when I was doing this Harry Potter fan site, right? Like, I mean, I was president of my high school class. I had friends. It wasn't like I didn't have any friends in person. It was more just like, I'm bored if I don't have a million things going at one time. So
I gotcha.
Yeah.
I gotcha. All right. So take that community. Let's bring that forward to today. Obviously, so you haven't stopped that. You're clearly a community creator now. So like, should we talk about church communications, or like, would that be a good logical jump? Yeah. I'm just kind of curious. So like, that's how, when was that formed? How did you decide, hey, cause you have a partner in that. Like, how did y'all get together and say, hey, let's create this, entity?
Actually, what's crazy is that I had a different partner when I first started it. So we have transferred partnerships since then. But originally so there were tons of websites offering information about church marketing and church communication strategy, and lots of people with email lists and stuff like that. And we had considered, my original partner and I, we had considered going into just creating courses, because they were the thing in 2015. And then I really knew that this community needed actual community. Like, it needed a place to belong. And I had been a part of a couple of Facebook groups in 2013 and 2014 that were very beneficial for me for freelancing. And I thought, why couldn't I just do this for churches? And I drew back from my Harry Potter experience, right? How rich those relationships were and how much I learned through them, and like the education that I got, which is wild, right? Because we were supposed to be learning about Harry Potter or talking about Harry Potter, but really I learned so much about web development and PHP and CSS. I mean, it was just a whole education in and of itself, far past what the original intent was. And so I was like, community is really where it's at. Most people start with like a product, right? Like when they decide to go into business, they start with a product and then they work to build an audience around that product or whatever. They try, but I did the opposite. I built a community and then I launched products and stuff like that. So I really wanted to build the 1,000, you probably heard the 1,000 true fans situation. I really wanted 1,000 true fans more than I wanted the money to begin with. I really was like, I really want to find these people. And it wasn't, and like I said, it really originally wasn't about the money. It was more like I knew that these ministers needed help and that I had a lot of knowledge to give. And so I created a Facebook group and dragged my business partner along with it. And he was pretty surprised too, I think, to say the least, how quickly it took off. So originally, I thought we would find like 50 people who wanted to complain about making church bulletins online. And before we knew it, we had 5,000, then we had 10,000, then we had 15,000. And Facebook was actually calling us and saying, this is one of the most engaged faith-based groups on our platform. What are you doing? Yeah. So Facebook has been a partner of ours for a long time now, which is really wild and crazy that they even noticed us or took care. You know what I'm saying? Took time to notice.
So that makes me ask you this: what were you doing? Because obviously, if Facebook called you, you were doing something different than what other groups, I guess, were doing. So, like, I mean, what were you doing that was so different in building?
So, from my early years of doing online community, I realized that like you have to tell people what to do or they won't do it. And so just like a call to action, right? A funnel. If you don't have a call to action, people aren't going to do anything because they don't really know what to do. And so very, very early on, I created weekly topics for communication, for like conversation. So like
Cool.
one would be like, what are you working on Wednesday? Or take a picture of, your latest bulletin, or, something like that. Send us your website. Let's look at it, that kind of stuff. And those still go on today. We actually, my favorite one is, there's one on Sunday that's basically like all the fails that happened on Sunday morning. And it's literally the funniest post. If it doesn't go out, people complain because they love this post so much. So there'll be probably like 100 to 200 comments every Sunday of people posting their fails from Sunday morning, which is pretty funny.
That's so good. So wait, so that's a post that you guys originate, and then the people are like looking forward to commenting with their stories of like what went wrong on Sunday. Got it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So,
cool.
And we do that with just a recurring post. Like we use recurpost.com. So just something really easy. Yeah. Social Bee can do it too. It's just whatever can repost evergreen content.
Yeah.
So we kind of hack the system a little bit to make it work how we want it to. But yeah, that's cool. That's basically how we post them every week without me actually having to post them every week. Because at the beginning it was me. It was very manual. A lot of what we still do is manual. How we generate money is manual, but it works. So that's good.
That's interesting. It's funny. I'm gonna have to check out Recur Post because obviously there's whatever your Hootsuite and buffers, but like you would have to go in and put that post in going forward. Yeah.
No,
so
I don't want to do that.
You made me stop and think about that. Like, whoa, wait a minute. Yeah.
Yeah, you can post the same thing over and over and over and over again with Recur Post or Social Bee. So both are great tools. So.
All right, awesome. Yeah, I'll have to check those out.
Edgar is one too. But
I've heard. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It's kind of what?
It's kind of expensive.
Oh, expensive. I thought you said vintage at first. I was like, vintage?
Not vintage. It is one of the original, though, I guess. It's like
so maybe it is vintage. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Okay, cool. Yeah, so those are great tools. Anyone listening, check those out. But growing a group is no joke. So it's not like, I madly respect that. Obviously if you have a topic that is, has that like that need, that drive, and you felt there was like a hole kind of in the community, like that's super important. But it still doesn't mean that your group's just going to grow. So like
100% no.
So yeah. I commend you for that, because I know it still takes dedicated work and like keeping the vibe of that community good, right? Because there can be toxic people.
It's really
you
hard.
had to like boot people. Hey, you're not following the rules, because you're trying to keep this like, it's very important, right?
You have no idea how angry Christians can get.
No, I do. No, I do actually.
It can be. You will be very surprised the stuff I've gotten before, but overall, overwhelmingly very good. Just every once in a while, you get somebody who's angry.
The internet helps with that. The internet unfortunately makes people. It's so much easier to have an attitude, to be angry, be short, not realize that you're talking to a real person, or whatever on the other end.
Oh, 100%. And like too, it's funny though, because I'm offering you a free service, yet you're angry. It's always it's always the funniest part.
That's the worst. It's always the free ones, man. I feel like when people get something for free, there's no skin in the game. I feel like you're always going to get more of that, like more of people being frustrated. Like,
yes. Yeah.
Have you found that? You've all that's like free, that the freebie stuff, there's like more people frustrated in general? Or
yes
or
and
what's
no.
Been your experience?
Okay, so when we first started growing, probably when we were under 5,000, it was definitely the case. But as we grew to 25,000, it really took on a life of its own, and it became more self-moderated almost in a way, where people like really came to understand exactly what to expect from the group and from us. And so I don't get those very often. It's kind of far and in between me getting, or maybe I've just toughened up and I don't remember as much. But yeah, we used to get tons and tons of complaints at the beginning. But now it's kind of more smooth sailing, which is great. So yeah.
That's cool. I wonder if people joining, it's almost like you've trained your tribe, and like the people maybe are helping kind
100%.
of create that culture and that vibe or whatever. So that's awesome. That's really cool. Right. So, so what's the goal? What's the goal with the group? Is the goal with the group to be a part of like the business church communications. And is that okay calling it a bit like
Is
it a business?
Yeah, we're an LLC.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Originally it just started as a hobby, and then it became an LLC because we ended up getting so many businesses that were interested in talking to churches. And originally I started doing advertisement in it just because I didn't want people to talk anymore. Like, I didn't want people to I wanted them to quit asking me. So I was like, I'm just going to put a price tag on this and nobody's going to do it. And then they did.
Wow. Gotcha.
And so I was probably one of the first groups out there that was doing this advertising model. So it's a little different. You know, we sell like the group cover and a pinned post and some other stuff. We have sponsorships now for our email lists and website ads that are pretty traditional for publishing. So in podcast, you know, we have podcast ads and stuff like that. So it's not that wild and far-fetched as it used to be, because everything's kind of monetized at this point. But I can remember a time when it wasn't. So yeah.
Yeah. And the people that would do that would be people that want to communicate and get their product or service in front of church
leaders. Yeah.
Church leaders. Gotcha. So it could be like a communication tool or a whatever.
Yeah. We have a lot of our partners are giving solutions for churches, you know, people that handle tithing or texting for churches, email for churches.
Gotcha.
People who make software for churches. There's a lot of those out there. So yeah, it's kind of a mixed bag, but it's been pretty good. So
did you even think that early on, like when you were creating the group, like were you thinking like, oh, if we can get it to whatever point, there will be this opportunity for like sponsorship? Or did it just start happening? You're like, oh wait, like people want to promote to our community, you know?
Yeah. Yes and no. So yes, I did. I did. Like, I knew that people would want to, and I definitely knew the demand was there. I just, I wanted to wait until I felt like it was valuable enough or whatever. I don't think there's a certain point. Honestly, our group might have been more valuable when it was under 1,000 than it is today. Although I think people would say, you know, people really value vanity metrics. And so, you know, although honestly, our group has never changed in engagement. So we're still 80% engaged, which means 21,000 people use our group every single day, which is wild.
That's awesome.
That's
amazing.
But that's kind of how Facebook got a hold of us, was because of that.
Is that figure in Facebook, like the insights for the group? Okay, cool.
Yeah, you can just do some math. It's like basic math, right? Like how many people have like posted or something, and you do like, you know,
Gotcha. Okay. So you kind of just figure your number. That's So I totally see why. But you made the point that maybe it was more valuable when there were only 1,000 people. Is that like, are you just saying like the kind of the commitment of that core group, like? What made you say that versus now you have 25,000 people?
Well, the commitment of that core group was very valuable, I felt like, and they're still there. That's the crazy part. Those family members are still the ones who are contributing the most. I feel like they're kind of ride or die, you know, with us. Fantastic. Cool. I did feel like back in that time we could get a little more philosophical and high reaching with our thoughts and with our processes, and like how we communicated and how we could talk like more open-ended, because today most of our posts are very elementary and not as advanced. I don't want to say like it dumbed down, but it just changed from you know, a group of a few, right, that could have these conversations, to a group of very many. And so what we did was we started creating, we created churchcommunications.com, because there were streams of information. A Facebook group is just a stream. It's a feed of information, right? There's no great way to organize this information. There is social learning units now, so you can organize a little bit with a social learning unit. I don't know if you know about those.
I've seen them. I've never used them. Yeah, I have seen the units.
Yeah, so we use social learning units mostly for like our podcast, because we feel like our podcasts are pretty educational. Like we did an entire podcast series on SEO that I was like, I don't want churches to miss this. And
Yeah.
so I put it into like a social learning unit. But
Cool.
yeah, sorry, I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah.
No, so but no, you made me think of another question. Did the Facebook group start first and then you created, it sounds like, the website churchcommunications.com?
Yeah. 100%.
Okay.
Yeah. It
Okay.
all started with a Facebook group originally. We had a email list too.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of changed, like our original name was going to be like Digital Church Training, and we pivoted to just being called Church Communications because that's what I wanted to name the group something as general as it could be, like for people who are searching for that information. And so I felt like that was a pretty good turn of phrase for it. And then it just ended up being the name of who we are. So yeah, we kind of went with that. So
I love it. So
naming's important.
Naming's important. Okay.
Especially with a Facebook group. Naming is
Okay.
really important with how you're found. And so I don't like to name things that are cute. I like to name things that are clear. And so even with businesses, if you can at all possible to name it what it is, then it works best for your SEO and for your processes in the future. And so it just worked really well for us to name it that.
It helped. Yeah. So smart move. I've actually, on a personal level, have debated like that exact thing, like recently in the last 6 months on some groups. It's like, because if your title isn't obvious what it is, that may deter. But maybe I guess it depends on the goal of the group. Like if you want to be the one to get people there, but if you want to be found on a large scale, then I definitely would assume that name would be very important.
There have been others that exist. I mean, but ours is the one that has that name, and we're trademarked, so people can't use that phrase.
Gotcha. I gotcha. Okay. So was that your plan up front, or did that happen down the line? Okay. Was the website ever, was that the original plan, or did it innovate and pivot? Not pivot. Pivot's not the right word. Did it morph into that bigger?
Oh, it definitely morphed. Yeah. It definitely grew as we grew. So, the original plan was still, like I said, like we wanted to create courses. And so we were gonna I wanted to create a community because I knew we could create like products or something, which is so funny. That's not what we do today. Like, I mean, we will, I think, eventually probably offer that, but we primarily I call it the Robin Hood method. We take from the rich to give to the poor. So we primarily partner with businesses. We don't just partner with anybody, but we partner with businesses that we know will benefit the church in some kind of way and help grow the church. And then we help those churches. And usually we try to get like a better offer for churches than they can get anywhere else for our groups exclusively. And then we give it away to the churches, right? So most of our information is completely free.
That's neat. It's almost like a big health insurance group product. You get like a big group in one place, and then you can negotiate and get something great as the leader, and then everyone benefits from that plan. That's cool. But you kind of excited me when you said no, it definitely morphed. Like, I'm glad that's your story, because I feel like a lot of people that want to start something, or they're like, oh, I have this idea, or maybe they're even in business. They've been in business for 3 years. I think people feel like they have to have the ultimate answer, like what your business is going to look like 5 years from now. And I just think that can be really difficult to do, especially if there's so many variables that are out of your control. Like, you think, oh, courses are the answer or whatever, but then, whoa, why would you not take a left if the audience or your community is saying, go left, man, this is where we want to go. Like, especially if it makes sense to go all the way. I don't know. It just really excites me to hear you say that, like that's kind of how that happened. The funny thing is that like courses, I mean, it blows my mind that y'all haven't done that yet. What's cool is that you're building this huge community, And now I feel like courses only make sense still, like to create courses,
Yeah.
you know, and you're probably still going to do that.
Yeah, we're still gonna do that. We have done it in the past. So we actually tested for Facebook. We were one of 30 people that got to test their subscription group. So Facebook had beta tested a subscription group because a lot of people were using Facebook groups as their community aspect to their subscription, right? To like they had an online course, but they also had a group, but it was super manual, right? Like you had to like add them, and there was no like way to sync it, you know, the membership with the Facebook group. And so Facebook just decided, hey, we're going to launch a subscription group, but they beta tested it with 30 people. And we got into that beta test. They decided not to launch it as an official. They're actually sunsetting it in June officially. So because we had it. So we had like 10 courses on there. And it ran for about 2 years probably. And we had probably like at the most probably like 100 paying members at that time, but it wasn't the best deal. I don't think it was the best deal for Facebook either. They took a 30% cut, which is really high. But that's because of iTunes. So iTunes actually, the payment processing, that how it goes through it has to take that. Like Facebook wasn't even making any money. It was just like, because of iTunes payment processor through the app, it had to be that way unless people signed up directly through the website or something. And like, I don't know if they just couldn't figure out how to make that work, or they just didn't feel like it was going to be profitable or what. But they decided to go away from that. So we're still pivoting into what that looks like. But these virtual events that we're doing,
I was
really
going there next.
Yeah,
I was going there next. Yeah.
Really took off. So that's why we haven't really gotten into the course creation, because we keep having these things, and then the pandemic happened, right?
Yeah,
I think we would probably be at that point right now with the summer is going into that idea, but then the pandemic happened, and so online events became our thing, which is funny because we're not like an online event company. I wouldn't say, but we know online community really well and engagement. And so,
if you think about it though, like there's not much difference. Like, I mean, there is and there's not. Like, you're taking something that you already do really well, which is community, and you have like all this knowledge, and you're sharing it, and you're literally just putting that, I guess, into like an organized fashion. You know what I mean? So it's like it's kind of like it's like you already are an event company online, but you didn't like see yourself as that, but maybe you are. So, all right, what was the first one? Because you just told me about a huge one that I didn't even know y'all did, and we'll get there. But like, what was the first one? Like, how did y'all?
Yeah, we did SheLeadsChurch.com back in March, and the first week of March, SheLeadsChurch.com. Yeah, and it was a conference that I've just had on my heart for a while. It was never meant to be in person. I think a lot of people thought, "Oh, you're so visionary. You did this online. I'm so glad." And I'm like, it was always going to be an online thing. It was never going to be an in-person thing. I just knew, I was like, I just didn't see a lot of great content out there for women who are leaders in the church online. I'd seen like plenty of, I don't know, other things, in-person events for sure. But I was like, I'd love to create a very affordable online event. So it was free to watch in person, or like in real time, right? It's free to watch in real time. It was a simulated live event. So that means we got all the speakers sending their videos ahead of time. So we could pull it off really easily instead of making sure people were where they're supposed to be at the right time and that kind of stuff. You never know what's going to happen with that. Yeah. So, and it went off really well. We had 3,000 people come, and that was through partnerships. You know, I have an email list. I have a lot of good friends with great email lists, and that was primarily the success of it. I think people automatically assume like if you run one of these, you're going to be successful. It takes a lot of work. You have to find like the right people to get on board to help you spread the word. We did Facebook ads as well, and I felt like they were pretty successful as well. But I think primarily we really gained a lot of traction because of email list.
So I agree. I think that's huge. I think so I'm assuming the email list, were those people your speakers, and they had they had a community and following,
Yeah,
or is it other people as well?
yeah, it was a mix of that and sponsors. So sponsors that came
Okay,
on board. Some of them gave money and some of them gave list.
got it.
So
That's I
uh,
saw that. I saw that on your site, and I remember thinking that's a smart move for
yeah, it's a
sponsorship. I'd never
different,
seen that before.
you
That
know,
was cool.
when you transfer things or whatever, or you're wanting, it's value, right? Like all you're wanting is like value, it's the transfer of value. So
Yep.
email lists are valuable, they're an
Yep.
asset. And I didn't get the email list, that wouldn't be right. I don't think I should get people's information, but they sent it
Yeah.
for me, on my
Yep.
behalf. And so through their, systems or whatever. So to me, that was just as valuable as $1,000. I was like, that's to me, that's worth its weight in gold. So I was
100%.
like, all right, that's fine. So yeah, and then some of them gave us money plus that, which is just awesome. And we were able to make it really great for them as well because of it. So yeah.
That's awesome. So I totally agree with you with the value of the email. And what's cool is whoever obviously signed up for your summit, I mean, they raised their hand and said, yeah, now I want to be on your list, which obviously
Right,
now
right, right.
they're now
Right.
your
Yeah, we built
contact.
a list too. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's really cool. So, and then you had some sponsors help pay some money too. What did you have any sort of like, so it was free for the women to attend, which is awesome. Was there
Yeah,
any sort of
buy
like
the
back
replay.
end
Yeah. Buy for replay
buy the
access.
replay? Yep.
Yeah.
Got you. Yeah. So that's like, and I'm asking you these questions because we're like right in the middle of looking at like,
Yeah.
putting on like an online
So
summit too,
when
right?
you
And
so when you do this, you can typically expect like a 5 to 7% conversion rate. So if you do it where it's free to attend while it's live,
mhm.
um, you should expect that more people. And I sell more of those all access passes on the front end than I did during or after.
Interesting.
But some people will sell more during or after.
Yeah.
That was for me.
Yeah.
That was like a personal experience. But I will say that on average, from most of my friends that do these, 5% conversion rate's about correct.
Got you. See, and I do think it's cool that you did an online summit. Like I already knew about them. Like I've seen tons advertised
Yeah,
like in the marketing industry or make
sure.
money online, whatever. And I've seen them. I've never attended one. Like I don't think ever. I've never been interested. I'm like, I'm not interested, but I do want to produce like in-person events. I want that. And
Yeah.
then COVID-19 hits. And then so I start looking at it and I'm
Mhm.
like, wait, but why haven't I looked at doing this before? Like it is super cool. And like, why wasn't I interested before when I looked? It's like, I didn't need COVID-19 to tell me that, but I guess I
Yeah.
did because that's what it took for me to look
Oh,
more closely at it,
you're not the only one. We've heard
Yeah.
from, at least 10 companies that have contacted
Yeah.
us and said, we need to figure out how to do this online thing. And I'm like, okay, let's figure it out, Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. It's just really interesting to me. And like, obviously the cost to do it is much lower than producing an in-person event. You can get people a larger number of people to attend because if you're targeting, you can now literally target all the people in your niche in the country rather than just in
Right.
your geographical area,
Yep.
that are going to drive. There's just so many positives to me to do it. So, okay.
Yeah.
But you just so that's the one that I knew about that y'all produced. And so that was the first one. Is the one, the Easter thing you just told me about, was that like the next thing you did? Or was there something in between?
Yeah, Easter Across America. Well, we did a Worship Live Summit, but that was with another partner, and they primarily did that one. We just promoted it. And then we're doing the instasummit.com in May. So one about Instagram, using Instagram for churches. That'll be in May. So Easter Across America was just a really cool thing we pulled together. It was actually wasn't a conference necessarily or a summit. It was more like an online event, and it was exclusive to Facebook. We worked with Facebook to get licensing and stuff to exclusively just show it on Facebook, so that they could whitelist it. Because typically, like with content and stuff, they'll pull it down if it's not, if like. We had Lauren Daigle, right? And Lauren Daigle performed Rescue. Like if normally Facebook hears that, they will just pull it down. So we actually worked with them to make sure we got whitelisted. And anyways, we got cross-posting access. Do you know about cross-posting, like live cross-posting?
I know very little about cross-posting. I know I've turned it on, but like I don't really do it So there's probably some
Yeah.
major advantage that I'm not taking advantage of.
Well, it was wild. So we got cross-posting access to at least 10 to 20 pages and add access to over 30 million.
Wow.
So we
Okay.
live streamed across audiences of 30 million on that day, which was just wild.
Now, so these are all pages that you had? This is not like random pages. Like you had relationships
we had
with all these in order to
relationships with
cross post.
them.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
They have to give you access, like they have to approve you and that kind of stuff. So yeah, and again, that is just through strategic partnerships, right? It's all about who you know. So that was really a big part of the thing there. I don't know if I can share like the final like viewing numbers with everybody because we still haven't put our press release yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was an amazing event and it went really, really well. We raised nearly I think $28,000 for World Vision
Cool.
COVID-19 relief that night, which was just really awesome. And yeah, it was a really incredible event to be a part of. And I said we had Lauren Daigle, but we had Andy Stanley, Miles McPherson, Michael W. Smith, Mark Hall, Michael Jr., the comedian. So it was just, it was a great.
Big names in the
and it came together in 12 days.
Oh yeah, you mentioned that. That's insane. So like from like idea to
yes,
like from say hey, let's put on this thing, and then 12 days later it was live.
Like we didn't even know we had Lauren Daigle until like almost 48 hours beforehand.
That's wild.
But it was all just us communicating and asking every person that if we knew in our network, hey, do you think you get a hold of this person, or do you think this person would be interested in giving us some content or whatever? So it's kind of amazing what you can pull off with the right people.
Yeah,
it's all about having the right people on the right seats.
That's amazing. It's amazing. Do you
recommend?
Say
it was my idea. That's for sure. It was my business partner's idea. I should give him credit. It was all Kenny Jang.
All right, Kenny Jang. Yeah. Good idea, Mr. Jang.
Yeah,
good idea. Do you think people? So obviously, people aren't going to like go out tomorrow and put on a like an event like that. But do you think that people should try? Do you think people should produce online summits? Do you think that's like a good thing for someone's community, or just in general?
If you're not doing it, what are you doing? I'm sure that's exactly what people are saying when they say, "Katie, you haven't created courses. You're a professor."
Come on, Katie.
Like, I know. Well, I've been creating other courses. I teach like a ton of courses per year, but it's usually in a 16-week format. So I think that's the same thing, right? Virtual summits really are where it's at, especially right now. And not just like, hey, you should put on a virtual summit for your community, but you should reach out to people who need help, because there are so many businesses just like yours who haven't done this before and need your help. So do one yourself and then go out and help people do them, because that's a whole business on its own, right? Like the consulting aspect of doing that. So
I was thinking that exact thing. I'm like, man, this is not a simple, and there's some great tools out there, and we don't have to go into them, but I know you and I were kind of chatting about some tools and stuff, and some stuff I found and what you used, and like there's a lot of stuff out there, but still at the end of the day, even if you find a tool, there's still I think a lot more that like someone needs to go from a tool to like actually producing a successful summit. I mean, there's a lot, right? Like like maybe the tool gets you like to first base, and then you still have to get all the way around to home plate. I think to like say, hey man, like we did this, we did good, we won, whatever. So this has been really good. I know we're running low on time. So is there anything I didn't ask you, but you wish I had, or I should ask you?
We talked about the Good Work Agency briefly. I'd love to just talk a little bit more about that.
Please.
Yeah.
So I heard the idea of it, and I'm like, man, this is really cool. Student run. Yeah. I don't know if this exists across the country, or if this is kind of original to. So okay. Yeah. Tell us about it.
Have you met? Did Dr. Greer tell you about it?
So I know Dr. Greer, and I don't think he's told me about it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Like I don't know details about it.
Okay, so there are student-run marketing agencies across the country, but there's only like probably less than 20, across the country. So they're not super popular. They're picking up steam, for sure, as an educational experience. So basically, we're a full-fledged digital marketing agency. We do websites and branding and social media, landing pages, whatever. people need help with. And it's goodworkagency.org if you're interested in the website. But it is all student led. So there's an agency director, a creative director, and students who work on different projects. And it is for profit. So what we do with the money actually is great. Is we turn around, we use it for student scholarship or student trips, different educational experiences that they normally wouldn't get. We're in rural Alabama, so sometimes opportunities can be limited. What's really cool though is that the first year we were working, we made enough capital to take the kids on a trip to Facebook. And so we actually got to, meet with Facebook, meet with some of the people that I've partnered with in the past, talk about my community. And I got to share with Facebook and talk with them. And the students got to be a part of that, which was really cool. And we got to tour Instagram and WhatsApp. And we went to Apple and met some Christians that work at Apple and Christians that work in Silicon Valley. My friend is a good part of the Faith at Work movement that's happening in Silicon Valley. So we got to just meet with some really influential people and developers. And it was really incredible, the time that we got to spend there. And I think the kids walked away with such a bigger worldview, what's possible for them. I think it can be really small when you grow up in such a small area, right? I mean, I don't know about you. I grew up, in Clanton, Alabama. It's a very small place, right?
Not the Peach?
Yeah, it's a Peach. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Not to say that that's bad. I mean, I am very, very thankful to be from there and very grateful. But the more you travel and the more business experiences that you gain, the more you learn and the more you're capable of or what's possible, right? And so it was just a great dreaming trip. It was just a great dreaming trip for the kids to be able to meet these people, talk with them about their stories, and know that, hey, you don't have to go to an Ivy League school to end up here. You can still work here. It's just about how hard are you working and what do you want to do with your life, right? You don't have to end up in Silicon Valley. That's a whole nother thing. And so anyways, it was a great trip for them. And so we're so grateful that we get to provide them with these opportunities. But it's because we partner with, so we work primarily, our niche really is churches, nonprofits, small businesses, or really any business that is for good.
Gotcha.
So church communications is a business, but I think we're a for good business, right? Like we really want to help. At the end of the day, like that is our primary mode, is we want to help people as much as we possibly can. And so, that's primarily who we work with. We've worked with some colleges. We've made some college websites. We've made a bunch of church websites and all sorts of fun stuff. And the kids get really great experience off of doing that and, trying to figure it out for themselves, right? I mean, I'm sure you make websites too, right?
Yeah. I've made a number. Yeah, just like personally. Yep.
Yeah. And so figuring that out is a lot of work.
Yep.
And
it's been years for me. Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to provide those kids the same experience, right? But like in a guided place where they have someone they can come and talk to if they're completely stuck, right? Like, I think, wouldn't you be grateful if your very first website, you had somebody to ask?
Yep. What do I do here instead of like 4 hours of frustration trying to look up some little piece of something?
Right. So they call me their Google a lot. Sorry.
Exactly. The human Google. This is, but this program sounds really cool to me. Like the whole time you explained it, I just kind of getting really excited. Like, I don't know why there's only 20, but I'm just thinking of all the benefits, right? So I'm thinking a business can probably get a good deal, which honestly makes you marketable. I mean, let's get real, right? So you're student 100%.
Run. We're super affordable.
You're super affordable. These young people get insane experience, so it makes them marketable when they graduate. To go 100%. Get a job, right?
And you can create relationships with those students, right? Which is so good. If you love working with a student, they're going to be available in just a couple of years.
Good point. That's absolutely, that's a good call. Good call. Hey, we have an opening for this.
My best people I give away, and it frustrates me sometimes, right? Like, I know that my best workers, my whole point is to make them incredible so I can give them away.
Yeah. Exactly. But that's good. That's good for them, right? It's good for their future and all that. So,
right. Yeah. It's very exciting.
I totally get it. And then there's something else I thought too. Oh, I'm sitting here thinking like, let's say there's a young person that's like looking at colleges, right? That's another benefit. If I'm young and I'm like, man, I kind of want to get into this agency stuff because I'm a young go-getter at 18 that actually has this like drive.
Sure.
Wow. Like you may have just encouraged me to come to your school because I can join this agency where I'm gonna get hands-on experience.
Yeah.
That is really exciting. And something tells me that like obviously COVID-19 is changing all kinds of stuff. I think education clearly is one of them. I think we may see like a speed up of some stuff, like, you know, agencies like this, student run agencies, like to tell me that there's only 20-ish or whatever seems absurd. But I bet now there'll be like 2,000 like within the next year, or there should be, you know,
it's growing for sure. And there's definitely a lot of businesses that have taken, I can't think of the name. There's like 2 of them that I can think of that are primarily like they'll partner you with a student intern, right? So that I guess they have some partnerships with universities and they give these students, they give these like they give them some training, and then you basically get like a virtual assistant student for a semester, which is a good model. I've thought about doing that too. Yeah, I mean that's good too. I mean, everybody needs a VA, I think. But I don't know how much that benefits the student. You know, I just don't know. It just depends on what you need your VA to do, I guess. If you're calendaring all day, I'm like, you know, that's not what the kind of experience I want my student to get. Personally, they could get that from work study. So the agency, I really want to give them some. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of busy work in any agency life, right? Like sometimes you just got to sit down and create these 50 social media graphics. And it is what it is, right? But it is cool, like when they finally get to see their work to come together, and like figuring out pricing or figuring out like what is my time worth. You know, that's great questions that they've struggled through, right? Like, what should we charge for this? And why should we charge that much? There's so many different ways to charge for pricing. Like people, you can do it a million different ways, right? Like we want to reach this revenue goal, so we're going to charge this much for this and that and the other. And so, which is great, like completely possible, but like, yeah, there's just so many different ways. So the kids have really enjoyed reading books, right? Like the Freelancer's Bible and Pricing for Graphic Design is a great book that just came out in the last year. And it was even helpful if you're not in graphic design. I was like, this is an incredible book. And yeah, anyways, it's just been such a fun educational experience. I love that the kids are getting that experience.
It's so good. I mean, that excites me so much because I'm a guy that like I have an interesting view on education. I'm like for college, but at the same time, in the same breath, I will tell a kid, no, you don't necessarily need to go. So like to have programs like this really excites me. You know what I mean? Because it's like, it's hands-on, practical, real life. Yeah, super practical. Yeah. And oh my gosh, that warms my heart. Like it really does. It like pumps me up. It's pretty exciting. So look, I'm gonna let you go. I know I know you got to go, but like tell folks that you have a student. Everyone listening, she has a student coming in for an appointment. So we're gonna let Katie go. But tell people how to connect with you. You tell folks however you want, whatever connections you want to give.
Sure. So you can go to churchcommunications.com if you want to learn more about church communications. You can go to katieallred.com if you want to learn more about me. Please forgive me. I still have to update my web presence. It's been a while. You can also go to goodworkagency.org if you want to learn more about the Good Work Agency or hire us coming this fall. And yeah, that's pretty much. And at KDJ Allred on Twitter and Instagram.
Awesome. That's perfect. Yeah. And if you, we're in the process of producing show notes. If we have those by the time whoever watches or listens to this, those will be in show notes. Perfect. So Katie, it's been awesome. I've really enjoyed connecting with you. This has been great. Thank you for like giving me an insight into your life and events and businesses and your community. And it's been really great.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, take care. I'll talk to you soon. Okay.
Okay. Bye.
All right. See ya.